Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. We're going to have the latest on the Gorsuch hearings. Also, the latest on wiretapping. A woman who says, I just haven't stopped crying since she was hit with what's called the Tumblr revenge. I actually feel really bad for people who are being hit by the Tumblr revenge. And at the same exact time, I have absolutely no sympathy. It is, you know what? We're going to start right there, right now. Right. Tumblr. The Tumblr revenge. Now, here's the story.
This is the blog, Tumblr?
Tumblr, yeah. Mm-hmm. Tumblr acts as if it's a staunch champion of women's rights by supporting such groups as Planned Parenthood. Didn't know that. But still refuses to help tackle revenge porn. You know what revenge porn is?
Jeffy, would you like to tackle that one?
Yeah, Jeffy, let's see if you know. What's revenge porn?
He knows.
What's revenge porn?
What's revenge porn?
When I can take a picture of myself and another female or male or whatever and send it to my wife and let her know that, hey.
That's not revenge porn. You don't even know what how do you not know what revenge porn is?
You send it to your ex-wife or send it to your wife and you're like, hey, I'm having a good time and you're not.
Correct.
Okay.
Or you take a picture, you film your spouse or your ex-spouse having sex and put it on the internet and say, hey, this is them having sex.
I would say the traditional usage of revenge porn. I think Jeffy's
I do
just
have an appreciation for the connoisseur over here who has more than one kind of revenge porn.
He's like one of those guys like, hey, what's your favorite macaroni and cheese recipe? And goes into like a 25-page dissertation on how to make the cheese sauce. It's like, all right,
there's the four cheeses and then there's the shapes of the macaroni. He's a connoisseur.
So let me give you the top line here, which is if you are in a relationship and you have a sex tape, and then you break up, then you post it because you're mad at them.
Okay, revenge porn. All right. So the problem is that Tumblr is not taking this stuff down right away.
All
right. 27-year-old Bronx woman sued the blogging site in Manhattan Supreme Court last week after a tape of her having sex with her boyfriend 10 years ago when she was 17 was posted in December and shared 1,200 times. The post included the woman's name and a link to her Facebook page.
Oh, jeez.
She learned that the private X-rated video was on the site when strange men started contacting her through Facebook with obscene messages, which they describe, and I don't need to. I was devastated, she told the Post. I haven't stopped crying since. Now, this is revenge porn. Tumblr CEO David Karp is on the board of pro-women's rights groups such as Planned Parenthood, leading a fundraising campaign that gave at least $80,000 last month. Victims say they're outraged at the site's apparent contradictory behavior. In my opinion, Tumblr has chose to ignore valid legal demands because they make more money using victims' photographs as clickbait than they do protecting minors. All right. Well, I don't think just because you're giving money to Planned Parenthood means you're protecting minors. In fact, I would make the case quite the opposite, but especially the extreme minor. Let me explain my dichotomy that I'm in. I actually feel really bad for these women who this happens to. And yet at the same time, I'm like, don't get into a porn video with your boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is illegal activity, right? I mean, if you use videos like this in this way against someone's will, that is a crime.
It's horrible.
It's horrible.
There's one story here about a woman who was married, and her husband did what Jeffy, for a strange reason, 52-year-old mother of two, discovered nearly a dozen private semi-naked images of her with her husband that had been posted to the site after she lost her phone. So somebody took her phone, found the naked pictures of her with her husband, and posted them. Why do people feel, a 52-year-old woman, why do we feel it's necessary to take naked pictures of ourselves and keep them on the phone?
It really is incredible, seemingly, how common this is.
Right.
Because, I mean...
Like, I don't want a mirror in my house.
Oh, yeah.
I certainly don't want a mirror in my bathroom. The only reason why we have mirrors is because of my wife. She's like, I need a mirror. Okay, I don't need a mirror. I don't want to look at me. especially naked. I don't know how you do that, honey. God bless you. Everybody's created for a purpose. Your purpose apparently includes this duty of seeing me naked with a towel around me getting out of the shower. I'm sorry. Why would somebody want pictures of themselves?
Well, not everyone has the Glenn Beck look, I will say. Some people maybe are a little tad more desirable.
Single woman? Do you know
some of us are better?
Do you know a single woman that is happy with their body?
That's. I mean, this is a fair. Everyone says they are on Instagram.
Yeah, no,
but other than that, no.
Right.
Look at Pat.
I do. Yes, I know one.
Mm-hmm. Shut up. Shut up.
I have a pretty well-adjusted wife.
Shut up. What part of the shut up didn't you get in shut up?
Shut or up? Which one was it?
Which one was it?
But yeah, I mean, I don't, because this is a new thing, right? There wasn't, before I guess it's technology more than anything else, but that does not seem like that was the line. Like back in the day, you had to have a camera and you'd have to go to like the photo
you'd have
mat.
You'd have to develop it.
Right, and so no one would take these pictures, largely speaking. I mean, I know Jeffy had sites and before there were even websites.
Thank you.
There was magazines that were shared. However, it was very rare, right? Like, to even get this stuff, you'd have to go to.
Boy, what was that like to work at think of this, because I remember going to the camera store, not to even the photo mat before they had the drive-up things, okay? Right. There was a
film developed.
There was a photography place or a camera store in downtown Mount Vernon that all they sold was cameras and they developed films. And I remember
you knew everybody.
Right, yeah. And I remember going in and saying, hello to Mr. Hooper, who was either working at the camera or was part of Sesame Street. I don't remember. But hey, Mr. Hooper, here's the film. And they would develop it.
Always a good job to have working at the camera store.
It must have been. Because if you were working and developing it there, look at Jeffy. Oh my gosh, he's turned evil. Look at that look.
I'm just saying it was a
He's
good
like,
job.
if I could go back in a time machine, forget Jesus. I'm getting a job at the camera store.
But I mean, it was probably the big moment of your week if you worked in the camera store when you're developing the photos and all of a sudden you see the one. Because I remember it was one of those things where you weren't supposed to look at all the pictures, but you had to check them to see if they developed correctly. And that was the excuse.
Wait. You did this?
No, I never did.
Oh, okay.
But I've seen, it was a joke in the movies.
You've seen industrial films.
I've seen it. No, but seriously, like that was a standard plot device in teenage comedies. They'd all go work at the photo store. They'd find the sexy picture of the mom, and that was like a standard device. Look at these two things as far as technology. Pornography, for example, just like watching it. There was a line back in the day that you had to go to the Shady Jeffy store and go through the Shady Jeffy curtains and go to back to the place where Jeffy had was camping out in the weird Jeffy room in the back. And you had to have your car parked in front of the porno store, and no one wanted to have their car parked out in the porno store except Jeffy. So Jeffy was the only one who generally went, right?
I didn't know I was there open for business.
Now you can get it anywhere on the internet. And that line...
It's normalized everything.
Right. Has solved essentially pornography's problem. Right? Mm-hmm. Like there, again, as a business, no one cares.
Nobody wanted those... What's the street right down here? We go down the street about
on
10 miles, 5 miles on the way to the airport.
Shockingly, it's near an airport.
Yeah.
Where there's strip clubs and porno shops everywhere.
I mean, just a horrible section of town. Nobody wanted that in their section of town.
Right.
Now it's in your house.
Right. Yeah. So that is a bright line that people didn't want to cross to get pornography. Now that they don't have to cross that line, they get it a lot. And that is understandable to me in that, like, you can understand the demand for it and why people would avoid it earlier. Taking pictures of yourself, that was a a photo development line. Like the line there seems to be, well, now I have a phone and no one necessarily has to develop the pictures, so I want to take pictures of myself naked. Like that is not my line at all.
I don't get it.
That is like, I feel bad for the camera,
and not
so
only,
I won't
not
torture
only do
it.
I want to take pictures of me naked, I want to take pictures. I'm going to throw up in my mouth. I'm going to take pictures of me having sex. No.
It's a hard pass.
That is an easy. That is like a no-brainer, easy line to draw.
And I just don't understand why anyone. I mean, look, if
So this is where
you're what's her face, Jennifer Lawrence, like that, she was involved in that scandal a couple of years ago, as Jeffy will tell you in great detail. Who's probably responsible
They
for
were
it.
up in the cloud, man. You got to look.
But I mean, okay, if you're Jennifer Lawrence, maybe there's a reason for you to take naked pictures of yourself. A, you look really good. B, you're half naked in movies in front of a lot of people. Maybe this is something that would be important to you. I don't know. I'm not in that world. But I mean, for the average person, why the hell would you ever do this?
Have you looked at the average person?
Right, we're awful.
We really are bad. Pat's disgusted by this entire conversation, aren't you?
Really am. Yeah, I'm quite uncomfortable.
Why are you uncomfortable?
It's harsh for this time of morning, I think.
All right. All right. We'll move on then. I will save it for later. The man, I only read this story because it used the word cuckold in the right
in the right way.
In the right way. You know how it always is, like, conservative cuckold.
Right.
Shut up. But I saw cuckold stands by wife after sex with a 14-year-old, and it just because it used the word
that's
cuckold
crazy.
in the right way. This is the craziest story you've ever read. And this guy is standing by. There's something seriously wrong with this dude, let alone his wife. But all right, let's take a quick break. Back in just a second. Our sponsor this half hour, Pat can catch his breath, is Simply Safe. Protecting your home hasn't always been easy. Home security used to mean countless installation appointments and getting locked into contracts that made you wonder, is it even worth it? Your home is worth it. Your family's safety is definitely worth it. And that's why Simply Safe is making it simpler than ever to protect them. I swear to you, I would like to send Simply Safe up to the White House, because I really think we could just put a few of their new cameras on, just put them on the fences. Somebody crawls over, it'll call the police. Forget the Secret Service. It will call the police. Simply Safe. Thoughtfully assembled security arsenal from entry motion sensors to high-definition security cameras. You'll have everything you need to keep your family safe. CNET called Simply Safe comprehensive, easy-to-use protection, and it was the editor's choice for home security. Order now, Simply Safe. Simply Safe, you'll be protected by the end of the week. 10% discount if you go to simplysafebeck.com right now and order your Simply Safe system. It's simplysafebeck.com. Save 10%, simplysafebeck.com. Yeah, he's coming up in a few minutes.
And I was afraid at first it was going to be ugly. Glenn Beck rebooted, because it usually is.
I know,
Right.
there's never usually anything good.
It's funny, no one ever likes your current thing. Like, you're always like, everyone is always saying, Glenn Beck is onto this new thing. I used to like him last time. But they never say it when they liked you last time.
Right.
You know?
They never say it during the liking
amazing.
period.
This is amazing. Listen to this. Let me start by saying I miss the old Glenn Beck. No, not the Glenn Beck firebrand or the Glenn Beck Christmas sweater guy or the Glenn Beck Time magazine cover boy giving the raspberry to his detractors of the left. The Glenn Beck I actually miss is the one that I used to hear on 970 WFLA in my home market of Tampa Bay, where he started his talk radio phase of his career. I have to tell you, I miss those days too. We could never do those days ever again.
Oh my gosh.
Those days of radio are gone forever.
When you did local radio in Tampa and I was in Houston, and the things we did then,
I know.
We'd be off the air.
You would call me all the
the air.
time and be like, holy cow, I can't believe. Yeah, I know. It was a different world.
It was.
It was.
I can remember listening to that very first show, not quite knowing what to make of it. And to be fair, the sound of things, neither did he. It's true. As time passed and
It
Glenn...
was developing.
Yeah. Well, I remember. Do you remember how I started my first show? Program director came in the first break.
Trust me.
Yeah, Jeffy does.
Jeffy was there.
Do you remember the first words, Jeffy?
I kind of do. It was something like, I think I've made the biggest mistake of my life.
Those are exactly the words. Yeah. I had something else planned.
I forgot.
And I opened up
agreed
the
with that.
mics. Yeah. I opened up the mic and I said, hi, my name is Glenn Beck, and this is my first day on the job, and I may have made the biggest mistake of my life by coming here. And I did this monologue off the top of my head. We went into the break, and the program director came in, and she's like, "What the hell are you thinking?" And I'm like, "I'm not. I'm just going with it. I'm just going with the flow." She's like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody do." Wow. Anyway, so he talks about the Schlub Club bits were hilarious, especially members of the Presbyterian Church called in to stir the pot for those who weren't in on the joke. His alter ego, Flap Jackson, could have given Tony Clifton a run for the money. Those were good times. He talks about in this. Did you guys make it to the end of this story?
Yeah.
Yes. The last paragraph, he says, we can admire Glenn. He goes on to talk about how, you're kind of reaching out and we're trying to be, bringing people together instead of dividing people. He says, we can admire Glenn for being the first to say enough and take a stand against it. But until he finds honest partners on the left who are willing to share the risk and stand with him, I'm afraid his efforts will be doomed to fail. I mean, that's a good point. That's what I think pretty much everybody believes.
That's what everybody thinks.
Is that we won't find anybody on the left, although we have already. We've found Riaz. We found Samantha Bee. There's a few people.
Well, he makes the case on Samantha Bee that no, we haven't.
He doesn't talk about Riaz in this, and he's a good partner on the left. He really is. And I understand the unilateral disarmament thing because I never wanted the United States to do that when the Soviet Union wasn't going to. But this is different. We're at the point where we're coming apart at the seams.
You actually have become a believer in this where you weren't a year ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I think it's because we're seeing it work from the inside. You're not seeing it yet.
And like he says here, we're so tired of politics. I mean, that was a brutal last year that we just suffered through.
I just said to Pat when we went off the air, I said, Pat, I'm sorry. I don't think I've seen Pat that uncomfortable since our morning show days. And I said, I'm sorry.
It was like the morning show days.
Right. I said, I didn't see that making you uncomfortable. I'm sorry for that. And he said, no, not a problem. And I said, I'm just so tired of leading with politics. I don't want to talk about politics anymore. I just don't want to talk about it.
I mean, it's important, and we'll obviously cover what we have to. But
we have Kelly Shackelford. I want to hear. I want one distilled take on what happened. I don't want to chew on it for 4 hours or 3 hours.
Yeah, and I think so much of it just gets into this sort of we cover sports vibe. Like, it's like, oh, well, this is the thing that, like last night's game played out like this. This team won and this team's losing. And we need to see, this team needs to change this so they can win next time. And like, I find that to be very interesting in sports for some unknown reason. But with politics, it just seems so meaningless. It's just, these people are, overwhelmingly just shallow, and it's nothing real.
In sports, you a lot of times, not occasionally, a lot of times find people of amazing talent. In politics, you never find people of amazing talent unless it's a talent that no mother ever said, oh, when you grow up, you'll have this talent.
Hey, Glenn, thanks. I appreciate being on. Thanks.
You bet. I appreciate the spirit of the article, and it's nice to actually talk to a fan who has been a fan literally from the beginning.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of interesting because when I read the Washington Post profile that inspired the article in the first place, I hadn't really intended to go down that direction, but when I sat down to actually start writing it, a lot of memories of the show back in the old days on 970 WFLA just came rushing back to me, and it just sort of started pouring out to me, and it kind of turned into this very, very long introduction. But, once I started rolling with it, I was having so much fun with it, just talking about the Presbyterian church.
I love those.
Gags it used to do.
Those were
hilarious.
Yeah, we for anybody who doesn't know what the Schlub Club was, I used to pit the 4 o'clock audience against the 5 o'clock audience. And I would tell the 4 o'clock audience that, they were the real audience. The 5 o'clock audience, they were the schlubs. They were the people that just stroll in. Oh, I'm working. I can't listen. And so let's screw with them. And so we would plan something all hour. And then I would set up the calls. So when the people got off of work, they would just turn on the radio and they would start hearing these crazy people calling in. And by the end of the hour, they would be like, I live in an asylum. And all these people would, that weren't in on it, would call in and go, are all of these people crazy?
That was the funny part, too, because I was actually one of those schlubs at first because I didn't get off work until 5 o'clock. So I'm driving across the Howard Franklin Bridge going home, and Elizabeth's like, what the heck are these people? I couldn't believe it. But, it just got so off the chart. I was like, all right, this has got to be a bit. And I eventually figured that out. So I was in on the joke at that point, and I couldn't wait to hear those every single day. I mean,
they were great. They were great. We've never been able to do them because we don't know how to divide. We didn't know how to divide the show up because some stations, because of time zones, shuffle the hours. And I remember, do you remember, Stu, were you with me when I did I'm in Love with My Sister? Yeah, yes. You were with. Do you remember that, Mark?
I don't remember that one.
I remember advising you not to do that.
Yeah, I did this whole hour where I built it up and I said, listen, I want you to know I'm going to talk about something that I've never shared before. And I did this really heartfelt monologue of the first time I fell in love. And I'm not going to be ashamed of it anymore. And it was up on the Ferris wheel when I was a kid, and I kissed my sister, and
so disturbing.
Yeah, and it was a whole thing to see if I could sway the audience to defend brother sister love, and got them there. Until the end, I was supposed to then come in and say, okay, so here's the thing. I'm just making a point here that I can get you to believe anything if I put enough.
If you don't have principle. I mean, it's the same points that we're making today.
Correct. Yeah. If I give you enough love stuff and heart stuff, you're going to fall for anything. Well, unfortunately, it was when I was first starting syndication, and President Bush had to give a speech about 9/11, and the affiliates all dropped off literally at the explanation. So for 24 hours, I had affiliates calling saying, we are not running this show ever again. So anyway, so your point here, the reason why I wanted to get you on is your point. Say you can admire Glenn to be the first to say enough and take a stand against it, but until he finds honest partners on the left who are willing to share the risk and stand by him, I'm afraid his efforts are doomed to fail. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of mostly inspired by what had happened with Sam B. Because I heard the segment that you had her on your radio show when I was driving out to Orlando, and I thought, well, I've never been a big fan of Samantha B. Obviously I'm a creature of the right myself, and kind of think a lot of her opinions are kind of full of it, but. Listening to that, I thought to myself, all right, well, this is worth a try because it's kind of akin to some of the things that I've tried to do in mostly my online dealings with people, especially since I've gotten more into political blogging and whatnot. You can get into arguments with people, but my philosophy was always all right, I'm not going to be able to persuade people by putting them down, making them feel stupid, calling them names. And I always tried to deal with them in a respectful kind of way. So when I heard you and Samantha going back and forth and talking to each other about how we need to change the tone and how we converse with one another, I did respond to that. But then a couple of weeks later, she's on her show and she's comparing this poor cancer survivor at CPAC to a Nazi because of his haircut. And it just kind of really struck me because I thought, well, she really took it to heart, the conversations that you had, and she really, really wanted to go ahead and change the tone. She wouldn't be doing that kind of thing. And it just kind of concerned me because, I'm a big believer in the effort that you're trying to do here. And I think you're taking, obviously, a tremendous career risk, potentially alienating people in your audience. I know you're probably getting a lot of names being called, particularly from the right, about being a sellout and whatnot, and trying to coddle the left and whatnot. But I do believe that we have to start someplace. But I'm just really concerned about partnering up with the wrong people who aren't really taking it to heart and who are maybe just using this as an opportunity to promote themselves instead of actually really starting a dialogue and trying to make the conversation more civil between the left and the right.
So I'm thinking, and Mark, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your attitude and your approach on this. We've talked about this for a long time, and we believe we're going to have to kiss 1,000 frogs before we find one prince. because it is difficult to. I was just on with Tavis Smiley. It airs on PBS, I think, today or tonight or something. And he said, so why aren't you having more success with people? And I said, that's my question for you, Tavis. Now, he was very, very open and but he has kind of a softer attitude anyway. But he said, so why do you think it is? And I said, because I'm not sure that, he said, actually, he phrased it this way. Is it because people aren't self-reflecting because perhaps there was nobody, this is a quote, quite as bad as you? And I said, well, okay, that's one way to look at it. Or
I take it you never listened to Michael Savage,
right? Or is it that people don't want to look at themselves? It's easier to look elsewhere, and I could tell you that there are people that let's look at Bill Maher, even Samantha Bee, that have said some really difficult things about people on the right. Are they looking?
Oh, sure.
Are they looking inside of themselves? I don't think so. It's easier to look outside. So it requires somebody to be humble enough to say, "What part did I play in this?"
Yeah, well, that was another aspect of the WAPO article that kind of set me back a little bit as well, too, because the tone of it was all, here's Glenn Beck. He's trying to hug his way back into bringing America back together.
Yeah, I thought that was I thought that was an unfair article, by the way. I thought it took some things, some liberty with some things that was not the right tone. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, well, the thing that struck me about that was that it proceeded from this assumption that it was all you're doing, and or you can extrapolate that to it's all on the right side of the political spectrum, where all the hatred is coming from and where all the acrimony is coming from.
I agree.
And that is not the case at all.
I agree.
If the author, Mark Fisher, had seen fit to balance it out a little bit and maybe seeking out some people on the left and talking about how they contribute to the overall corruption of how we talk to each other and how we think of each other in this country, I think it would have been a heck of a lot more.
I will tell you, Mark, that you're right on the money, and I'm waiting for somebody to do that. And so far, nobody is willing to do that. Everybody's willing to dogpile, and I keep waiting for somebody to say, "Hey, wait a minute."
Well, again, though,
it's us
look
too.
At what's happening to you. But look at what's happening to you in your attempts to do this. I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of hate mail that you get over just this particular subject.
And that's just from the staff.
Since I posted this article, I've been getting a few hate tweets myself. I'm just Joe Nobody who writes an article on the internet. So I can't even imagine what that would be like magnified, a millionfold, like what you're dealing with here. And I think that, people on the left, particularly those who make their living in the media, and they have this image that they have to uphold, are thinking the same thing and saying, holy crap, I don't want that happening to me. I want to give my audience what they want. And that's kind of what I think what Samantha Bee was doing when she was doing her Nazi shtick with CPAC attendees, is that, maybe she got a few hate tweets of her own off of, appearing with Glenn Beck or having you on her show. And thinking, well, I got to go throw a bone out here to my listeners or my viewers, and let them know that I'm not being, going all soft on the right, and that's problematic.
I'm talking to Mark Giller of The Resurgent, and Mark, I was fascinated by that point because you're right. I mean, it was a cheap joke at the expense of some guy at CPAC. Now, it turns out that the guy has cancer, and there was a lot more to the story, but she didn't know that at the time.
And it wasn't her joke. It was
some correspondent, right?
It was a correspondent.
Yeah. But I mean, I was interested in seeing your article because you talked about the days of 970 WFLA, the mothership of this particular show.
Yep.
And those are great times, and they were really funny, but also really harsh.
They were
and
mean.
We a lot of times made fun of the appearance of somebody on the left. And we joked and made all sorts of things like that. It was a harsh show for laughs. And I remember at the time Glenn saying, in comedy, there's always a victim. There's always a victim. We should always just make the first victim ourselves. And so that was the way we ran the show. But I mean, her joke, is that just a funny line that we should all just be able to get over? Or is it really some attack that shows that she's not being an honest partner in whatever was trying to be done here?
Well, I love to employ humor in the stuff that I write as well too, and God knows that Twitter being the medium that it is, it just lends itself to snark, and I've definitely been guilty of doing that myself from time to time. Although I've never called anybody a commie or a pinko or anything like that. But yeah, and I really one of the things about the meme culture that we have right now is that it does make it increasingly difficult to make even good jokes and to laugh at each other because everybody's taking themselves so damn seriously. It's very, very difficult to do. And I think that, if maybe the way we react to things like the Nazi joke on Samantha Bee's show is because we on the right have taken it on the chin so much from the popular culture, where we're always cast as the fuddy-duddies. We're always cast as, the ones who want to get into everybody's bedrooms and we don't want you to have any fun and whatnot. When, really a lot of that's actually what's going on the left these days. And it's just, I guess it just makes us really mad because we've been the butt of jokes so many times. And that, leftists really typically have an extremely difficult time laughing at themselves. So, I think maybe that's where we are.
I tell you, Mark, when somebody actually really hears what you just said on the left, when they really hear you, things will change. But they don't so far. I've been trying, and they don't hear that message yet. But once they do, I think we can come together.
I do hope that is the case, because my fondest wish in our politics is that we stop yelling at each other and actually start talking to one another instead. But, the way things are right now, it's all emotion, it's all id. It's, very little debating the actual facts. And, I think that's, how we came to that. It's, obviously we've got a mainstream media that's out there stirring the pot as well, too, because, it gets some clicks and it gets some views. People are screaming at one another. Washington's happy with that because they can get away with whatever they want to get away with because people are distracted with minutia rather than, taking a look at the real big issues and the things that are really affecting them on a day-to-day basis. So you do have this entrenched power structure that's in place that has a vested interest in keeping us at each other's throats. So it's going to be really tough.
I only have about 10 seconds. What I really wanted to ask you was, you said, well, I think it's doomed for failure. So do I continue or do I not continue?
No, it's only if you get the wrong partners that it's doomed for failure. The interesting thing about what you were mentioning about Riaz, your friend as well too, is that maybe he's going to be more of an honest partner because he's less of a celebrity. Yeah. So he's got less of a reputation to uphold, I guess, with his audience, since he's kind of more a behind the scenes type guy. Yeah. So I think maybe you might be more productive with that than going back to the last segment. Maybe you ought to watch how to look good naked.
All right, man. Thank you so much. God bless. Mark Giller from theresurgent.com. All right, ZipRecruiter is our sponsor this half hour. Building a quality team could get stressful quickly, but with ZipRecruiter.com, making the perfect hire is really simple. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job on 200-plus job sites, social media networks, Facebook, Twitter, all with a single click. You can find any candidate in any city nationwide. You post once and watch your qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. Been used by Fortune 100 companies as well as small businesses like mine. And right now, you can post your jobs at ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/Beck. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Beck. See how easy it is to hire the right person quickly with ZipRecruiter.com/Beck. Try it for free, ZipRecruiter.com/Beck. I mean, this is the thing that I just want to stop. Here, play a little of Gorsuch. Okay, listen to his testimony.
His name was Increase Sumner. And written onto his tombstone over 200 years ago was this description of the man. As a lawyer, he was faithful and able. As a judge, patient, impartial, decisive.
Okay, stop. Doesn't he sound like, this is like a book on tape.
Yes, it's a terrible delivery. And also, the stuff he lists that was on the tombstone, either that's really small font or that tombstone is gigantic.
Right, okay, so if any minds were changed, if any of the Democrats softened, or if they look like they're going to follow Chuck Schumer when he calls for chaos. Welcome to the program, Kelly Shackelford. How are you?
Good. Great to be on, Glenn.
Kelly has all of the information at TrumpNominee.com, TrumpNominee.com, where you can follow it, see the videos, and get all of the background on Gorsuch. What'd you think, Kelly?
What I expected, a lot of preening, speeches given by senators, and really today is when it started. It's already started, the hearing, and that's when they're going to try to catch him. And then, of course, they dropped their bomb, what they thought was the best they could do today. NPR dropped a story attacking him, having some student that was in his class making claims that now all the other students are coming out and saying are false. But
what were the claims?
He teaches a class at the University of Colorado Law School, and they said that in the class that this one student said that he had said something about women taking advantage of maternity leave in the workplace. And a number of other students just totally disputed that. It's an ethics class, and he was talking about the different things that people are pressured by. And he gave that and amongst many examples, and then gave the arguments and counter arguments for both sides. But the attacker that was used by NPR didn't bother to say that. So they really don't have much on him. So the attacks are very weak, and they almost always fall apart within seconds. But that's, I think their only hope is during the questioning and answering, which has started already today, that they can catch him saying something. Otherwise, I think they're really in an uphill battle.
I was looking at the article you mentioned, which I had not seen, Kelly, from the NPR, which begins now with this. Editor's note. Since the story was first published, we have added material from another former student and former law clerks of Gorsuch, as well as more information about Jennifer Sisk's political affiliations. And those political affiliations are she used to work for a Democratic senator.
Yes.
That's the person who is accusing Gorsuch of this, a staffer of Democratic Senator Mark Udall of Colorado.
Wow.
This is, nonsensical. And they have 11.
Well, first of all, it's in an ethics class. Of course you're going to say things that are unethical. In an ethics class, you're exploring ethics. Right?
The Socratic method is kind of what you do when you're teaching these kinds of classes.
Yes.
And by the way, one of the people who came forward supporting, Judge Gorsuch was a very liberal Democrat student who totally disagreed with what NPR was saying. And so I guess that's why they're updating it. They've even got people who are on the far left wing. I do find some irony in the fact that NPR, meanwhile we have President Trump cutting, some of the money to NPR and these types of groups. And here they are, a somewhat government-funded entity that is attacking, somebody to be on the Supreme Court. There's some, I don't know, there's something really bizarre about all of that, and I think it gives extra credence to why maybe government money shouldn't go to groups who are going to do that.
Let me ask the question that was asked of me over and over again yesterday was, how nasty is this going to get? Is this going to go to the nuclear option or not? And I think we touched on this yesterday. I can't imagine they're going to do that because he's not. I mean, if you listen to him yesterday, he's a very reasoned, soft-spoken. He sounds like books on tape. He's just not that kind of a caricature that I think the American people will be afraid of. And, Chuck Schumer yesterday was calling for chaos in the streets. I mean, this is nuts.
I agree with you, Glenn. I think they can't make him a bork. They can't make him somebody who, the image they want to create for him just doesn't work because he's a humble person. He's a restrained person. He's got 3,000 opinions. He's got liberals that are endorsing him because they just think he's such a good person. One of Obama's head solicitor general came out and endorsed him. So you've got all these people that recognize when anybody does when you look at him, which is he's not this monster that they'd like to create. So I think they're in a struggle, though. I think the base really wants these Democratic senators to bring out the knives. And so I think that's why we see them saying some of these outrageous things. But when push comes to shove, you've got all these senators who are in states that were carried by Trump. And when they vote, that could cost them their seat because their seat is coming up. A third of the Senate's coming up in this next election, and a number of those were carried by Trump, those states. So I don't think we are going to see the filibuster. Now, I think many conservatives kind of hope we do, because if there is a filibuster, it's so unreasonable in this situation that I think most people think that they will use the nuclear option, what they call the nuclear option, and just change the rules and say, okay, there's no need for a filibuster. This is abusive. And then that will make the way for the next time when it is going to be a huge battle about who controls the court, not using the filibuster. So many people kind of hope they do overplay their hand, but I just don't think they will.
So, Kelly, do you think that the American people are going to sit through, for instance, what Schumer is talking about is, he said, this is all the stuff that's going on with Trump, and he brings up, he ends up with immigration reform. And he said, if this isn't solved, you want to build the wall, maybe we should say we're going to shut down the government. This is a quote. We're going to shut down the government. We're not going to raise the debt ceiling until you pass immigration reform. Well, wait a minute. That is exactly what they said was irresponsible and, was anti-government. Do you think people are even going to remember that? Or do you think people will call bullcrap on both parties for playing this game?
I think at this point, I think people, voted for some pretty dramatic change. They felt like the government was broken and they wanted to see something get done. So they did something pretty drastic. And I think somebody just obstructing for obstruction's sake doesn't go over well right now. I think that's the sort of politics that people are tired of. So I really think that, people like Schumer are playing to their base, which want them to do this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think with the regular American, it's not something they like. Mm-hmm. And again, they look at Gorsuch and they think, this is the kind of guy I want on the court. He's very mild-mannered. He seems to just want to do the right thing, follow the law. So I think they're going to have a real hard time. And I'll tell people, Glenn, watch for themselves. Go, at TrumpNominee.com, where we've got our website there. The first link is just watch the hearings. And I think you'll see pretty quickly why they're having a hard time. But that's their only hope. Again, in my opinion, their only hope is to catch him in something in these hearings. And again, I think that would be a surprise to a lot of people. But that's, I think, what they're hoping for, knowing that otherwise their arguments really do seem to fall apart whenever they even start, because they just don't have much.
Anything in particular we should watch for today?
I just watch the Democratic senators. Obviously, the Republican senators are going to say nice things, prop him up, do that. I watch the Democratic senators and see. You might have some ask him about judicial philosophy, which might be very educational to people. But I think the real thing is going to be the Democratic senators are going to try to go after him. They're going to try to force him to state where he stands on abortion and on a number of issues, which I would guess he's not going to answer, because judges typically don't answer about policy issues that might come before them. They would want to see the facts of a particular case, and so they don't want to prejudice themselves or look like they're prejudiced. So my guess is they're going to try to force him to answer, and they're going to complain, and he's not going to take the bait, and we're going to have a couple of days of this, and then eventually in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or whatever, I think we'll have Gorsuch on the court.
Great. Kelly, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Kelly will be watching this for us and back on tomorrow. TrumpNominee.com. TrumpNominee.com. Anything stick out to you, Pat, yesterday? I know that Ted Cruz was strong on this yesterday.
Yeah, I really liked what he had. He's always good in these settings, too. So.
A decade ago, Judge Gorsuch was confirmed by this committee for the Federal Court of Appeals by a voice vote. He was likewise confirmed by the entire United States Senate by a voice vote without a single Democrat speaking a word of opposition. Not a word of opposition from Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Not from Harry Reid or Ted Kennedy or John Kerry. Not from Senators Feinstein, Leahy, or Durbin, who still sit on this committee. Not even from Senators Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, or Joe Biden. Not a one of them spoke a word against Judge Gorsuch's nomination a decade ago.
Yeah, but the problem is nobody cares about that now. I mean, no Democrats care that they said nothing then, and now he's all of a sudden a horrible radical. This happens every single time. You're just on the other side of the fence now, so anything goes. If they were trying to stop a filibuster, that would be the worst thing in the world, even though they just did it. If they used the nuclear option, that would be the worst thing in the world, even though they just did it. I mean, it's so frustrating, and this is why we don't like the process. Right? It's like puts us in a bad mood every time.
Yeah, I think this is why people have said enough is enough, and enough is enough. If Schumer does decide to say at some point, you know what, we're just going to shut down the government, and let me give it here. We'll shut down the government. We won't raise the debt ceiling until you fill in the blank.
And remember when?
Oh yeah.
The Republicans were going to shut down the government?
Yeah, it was chaos. It was hostage taking.
Yeah, right.
And they were delivering a severe blow to the economy. That's what they were saying. Hostage taking is not governing.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, we've seen it over and over, and yet every time it happens, I'm still like, really? You can still think you can get it. We have audio tape. I don't know if you know that.
I don't know if you know this, but that's what the right is doing too. I mean,
I know.
We have audio tape. We have audio tape of.
They don't care.
Yeah.
It all may be a moot point because North Korea is going to blow us off the face of the earth anyway. You see their latest propaganda piece? Blew up a U.S. aircraft carrier.
Oh. Can we?
Over. We're done. They've threatened to reduce us to ashes. Well, yeah, Kim Jong-un said if we fire one single bullet their way, one single bullet from either us or South Korea, they're going to wipe us off the face of the earth. They're going to reduce us to ash.
Rivers of blood.
Rivers of blood, reduce us to ash. It's frightening. It's frightening. And they scare me more every day.
I don't know if you're serious or not.
I'm really not.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm really not because they have I worry about the EMP, and I think we talked about this yesterday. They have that capability. They have 20 nuclear warheads, so they lose that war.
Only takes 3.
Only takes 3 EMPs.
3 EMPs. So, but you can explode a nuclear weapon way up in space.
Right.
So if you're worried about the EMP, an EMP is a side benefit of a nuclear weapon. So they just have to launch 3 missiles, get them over the United States, explode them above us, and it knocks everything out.
2 words: preemptive strike.
Yeah, and
that might not be good.
That's probably not.
Probably not advisable.
I mean, they've got to be able to shoot the rockets, that far. Right now, they can't get it past.
Hey, by the way,
islands.
have you guys heard of the X-32A or B or something? Have you ever heard of the X-32?
Sounds like a shirt size.
X-30. No, I don't know what it is.
Stu, have you ever heard of the X-32?
No.
Google it. Just Google it real quick.
X-32.
I think it's X-32. See what comes up.
A digital mixer.
Okay, no, then that's not X-32.
X-32. Boeing X-32?
Yes.
Okay. That's,
currently up in space. Been up in space.
Experimental stealth fighter.
Okay. No. This is the one up in space. There's one up in space, like X-35 then, or I don't know what it is.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I saw this weekend, and I couldn't believe it.
What's it supposed to do?
It's up in space. It's a secret space shuttle.
What? Really?
And it's totally robotic. And it's been up in space for like a year. And they don't know, nobody will say what it's doing. What the hell is it doing? Did you even know?
X-37B.
Is that what it is? X-37?
Space plane.
It's up there continually for a year?
It's been up there for a year.
What?
X-37.
Who's living in a plane for a year?
No,
nobody's in it.
It's all robotic.
Oh, wow.
But it's enormous.
Wow.
And they don't know what it's doing up there. Is it telecommunications? Is it new defense? What is this space plane doing up there?
I'm on the internet. Watch Atlas V rocket launch top secret X-37B space plane. If
So
it's
much for
on
top
the
secret.
website, I don't think it is top secret.
Right. But you know what? They're doing it out in open. We're so dead inside to, it's rocket, space, secret plane, whatever. We don't even pay attention. I saw that story and I'm like, what the hell? I didn't even know we had an X-35.
Right. So this is
X-37B.
The
Right,
X program
that.
has been bounced between several different federal agencies, NASA among them, since 1999. The plane has been in space for a total of 674 days, far more than its 2 previous flights,
Almost
which lasted
2
225 and 469 days.
Oh, my God.
What? Right?
It's the first time I've heard of it.
Me too.
Right now.
It's like we aren't paying attention to anything. We have been arguing about so much crap. What has the government been doing while we are sitting here arguing amongst ourselves?
I'm glad it's ours rather than
Me too. North
Russia
Korea or Russia.
China or North Korea.
I agree. Just made me think of it when you said about sending the missiles out. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. What the hell is a space plane? There is speculation that it might be a missile defense plane, but we don't know.
Yeah, the speculation in this article is that it's some sort of just spy plane. Like, so it's up there doing some sort of surveillance.
Yeah, and
They said it's a platform for testing reusable spacecraft technologies for America's future in space and operating experiments, which can be returned to and examined on Earth. But you know it's much more than that.
Yeah, well, it's top secret.
Yeah.
If that's what it was doing, why would it be top secret?
That's pretty amazing.
Now this, LifeLock. Hackers use forged cookies to breach another 32 million email.
Cookies.
I know,
God,
but
that sounds good right now.
They're forged.
Are they using chocolate chip cookies
No,
or
they're
what kind of
forged.
cookies?
They're forged cookies.
Oh, boy.
This on top of the previously announced $1.5 billion in recent years. Stolen information posted for sale on the dark web last August for $300,000. Identity theft is America's fastest growing crime, and you can protect yourself. LifeLock scanned hundreds of millions of transactions every second, and if they detect your information is being used, they'll send you an alert, and then somebody here in the U.S. will actually work to fix it. Now, nobody can prevent all identity theft, monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock is the best at identity theft, and they're the best protection available. Membership starts at $9.99 a month plus the sales tax. All you have to do is visit lifelock.com/Beck or call 1-800-LIFELOCK, 1-800-LIFELOCK or lifelock.com/Beck. Welcome to the program. Glad you're here. We have Conan's guy in today. He's hanging out with Doc Thompson, who does the morning show on the Blaze Radio Network. And he's the guy who does the Trump, probably the best Trump next to what's his face? You know, I beat my family up guy.
Oh, I think he's
Alec
Alice
Baldwin?
Baldwin.
better than Alec Baldwin.
I mean, Alec Baldwin isn't going
Baldwin's
for
just
accuracy.
he's just a caricature. This guy really does Trump. I mean, he's really good. He's good. This should be fun.
Yeah, he's completely bald. Did you notice that?
I did.
I want to thank you so much for all of the ideas on what you want to know about for the serials.
We're sifting through all those, and there's some really good ideas. So we'll be featuring them eventually. We've got a little backlog right now, so it may be a while before your idea's heard, but we'll get to it.
Yep. You can contact Pat.
Pat Gray at glennbeck.com.
And
Pat Gray at glennbeck.com.
And if you want the serials, they come out, and you can grab them for free. We encourage you to share them on Twitter, on Facebook. If you're only listening to them on the car, they come with video and everything else. So please share them with a friend. You can go to glennbeck.com/serials, find them, and share them. War on Women all this week. Now this from Goldline. The scale and the speed of change of China's digital sector is head-spinning. China's internet users grew in 2016 by the size of the entire population of Ukraine, 731 million people. Think of that. In 2016, 731 million people got the internet.
Wow.
In China alone. That's astounding.
Wow.
95% of them now are accessing the internet using their phones. China's digital payment market has exploded 50 times the size of that in the U.S. So what does that mean? That means cashless transactions as the primary payment less than 5 years from now in China. The trend is not exclusive to China. The trend is global. A cashless society is coming. What does that mean? Please, I don't want you if you're ready to buy gold or silver, if you've done your homework, great. But I want you to take the first step into educating yourself. I want you to call them right now and ask for their new updated free cashless society risk report. This has been updated and worked on with members of our team to be able to show you what is happening and what the trends mean and what this means to you, really, quite honestly, being held hostage by a digital bank. Read Goldline's important risk information. See if buying gold or silver is right for you. Not right for everybody, but it sure is for my family. 866-465-3546. The only company I endorse is Goldline. 1-866-GOLDLINE or goldline.com. Wouldn't that be consistent with stay out of my body, stay out of my life, stay out of my bedroom?
And the government shouldn't be providing contraception, right? Because that's part of your whole staying out of your body.
Stay out of my life.
You would think so.
You would think, but no. Consistency doesn't matter.
Not at all.
Here's one of the problems with contraception for some people.
When you use it enough, babies stop being born. And so you're not propagating the race.
Speaking of human beings that reproduce other human beings, my sister-in-law just had a baby. What do you do when your family member has a baby? You send over food. Well, normally you could send over, the crappy food that I used to make. Now I made some special spinach risotto with Blue Apron, sent that over, and they say it's 2 servings. I was easily able to split it into 4 servings. I mean, it's a lot of food. And it was delicious, and she really liked it. And, look, you score points with the sister-in-law, you score points at home. Let's be honest about it. Blue Apron is the way you do this. Blue Apron sends the meals. I get 3 per week. And they come with all the best ingredients right to your house in the exact amounts that you need. So there's no waste, and you don't have to figure everything out. It's really easy. They walk you through it step by step, and anybody can make gourmet meals at home with Blue Apron.
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
I'm
so excited to be here. Tremendous. You guys are amazing. I don't know any of you, but I think you're great. And Glenn has been so supportive of me for so long. He said such wonderful things about me. And on his latest book, I'm on the cover, and that's why it's $1 million sellers. I'm on the cover. Did you notice that? None of his other books have done well. Why would you write a book called Broke? Bad move. Bad move. I have to tell you. Stupid title. But I like you, though. You're good.
Right.
I've written a lot of books, too. A lot of books. Best-selling books.
Right. But I haven't really been helpful for you.
You haven't?
No.
In that case, you're a lightweight loser. You're doing a terrible job. I've always said you're terrible. I've always said that from the beginning. Now that I know this about you.
Right.
Really amazing. So you were on CNN, you blew that gig. Then you were at Fox, you blew that gig. Now you're in this place. Folks, we're in a double-wide trailer. I don't think you realize that. He's not doing well, believe me.
Tom DeMonico is the voice that you're hearing now do Donald Trump. And the hair, how did you do? How much did that hair cost you?
That's $4,000.
Seriously, $4,000?
Yeah.
That hair?
$4,000?
I have 3 of these.
Wow.
And they're not $4,000 each.
Yeah, they're $4,000 each.
Shut the hell up.
Yeah, they take 90 hours to make. Every single hair is hand pulled. And
I
don't know if you're doing.
Well, I'm kind of in between. You want me to drop it? I can tell you about the hair. It's Trump hair. Tremendous hair. Best hair ever. Really.
Okay, so drop the effect here for a second. Talk to me about the hair.
The hair was the hair is the very first wig I ever had was made by Bob Kelly. He used to do all the wigs for all the Broadway shows and Saturday Night Live, and this goes back at least 12 years ago. And those wigs are human hair wigs that are hand pulled. They measure my head, and then they build a frame, and then they just pull the hairs through, and it's called ventilating. That's why the hair goes your hair goes in different directions.
Right.
So they ventilate the wig so it's closest to the actual style. I get 3 or 4 wears out of this. Then it has
How
to be
many
washed.
wears out of this?
3 or 4.
That's it?
No.
no,
Then
that
it
has
goes
to
to
be
my
washed.
wig person. They wash and style it because once
okay.
there's too much
Okay.
product in it, it just it is human hair, so it's got to be restyled and redone.
I need a wig person.
Yeah.
You need 3 or 4 of these
Well,
wigs?
because I'm always traveling. So I'll go home for a couple of hours, switch out wigs. My wig person will come by, pick them up, and then wash one or two.
This has been tremendous for you as a human being, hasn't it?
This has been, this is like...
I mean, you're hoping for 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
The country could be on fire, and you're still
right,
like,
I don't care. Rome is burning.
So is it amazing to you that nobody had the balls to put an impression of Barack Obama on television? They all said, oh, he wasn't funny.
I don't think he had the comedically. There's just not. I mean, there's something there, but there's such a well with Trump, and it goes back so far. Just you look at his lexicon, you look at statements that he's made, you look at where he's been and how he's done it. There's just this reservoir of material, and Barack Obama was so guarded that the most you could do with him was like, here's the deal. You know, there just wasn't a lot to pull out. Comedically, he's so guarded, you know what I mean? But then you have somebody like Bill Clinton, and he just was, he was much easier to, there was just more comedy to mine from someone like Bill Clinton.
So did you think, because you've been doing Donald Trump for how many years?
Since 2004.
Okay. And you really studied it. I mean, you're looking at me like... He does. And sitting in this room, which is the Oval.
Which is the Oval Office, which I now own. I bought the White House. Great deal, by the way. Great deal. No one makes deals like me, I have to tell you.
Right. So you really have to watch. Go to Glenbeck.com or theblaze.com and watch this. You have to watch it. It's so funny. When you studied him beginning in 2004, just because he was just a great character?
No, what happened was I worked in the New York market, and I always got calls for tougher voices, for voiceovers, and I do about 30 characters, full makeup. And I got in the call, and somebody said, hey, are you doing Donald Trump yet? And this was the first season of The Apprentice had just ended. And I said, no, not really. I said, we have an audition on Monday for you if you can learn the voice. So I was like, geez. And I said, give me an hour. And I did some real quick research. And the only person at the time who was doing it at all was Phil Hartman on SNL. And he'd done it on Church Lady a number of times. So I didn't have a lot of resource material to really draw from. So I ran out and bought that first season of The Apprentice. It just happened to come out. And I sat there, locked myself in my house, and I broke his voice down by elements, which is throat placement, nasal placement, vocal production, cadence. And that's how I kind of usually break voices down. And then I worked on figuring out, he doesn't sound like anyone from New York. So I had to figure out, I wanted to find a voice similar to his. And the only person that I knew other than him from Queens was another guy who spoke in a very, very staccato way, like Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And Walken you wouldn't necessarily think as a New Yorker if you hear him speak. So, and Trump, when he speaks, you don't necessarily think of him as a New Yorker unless he had certain words. So
does it help? Did you pick up the mannerisms? Does that help you get?
It helps me. It helps me. Yeah, especially when I'm doing voiceovers and things like that. Even when I'm doing the Conan calls, or I'm like banging furniture in my house because I have a small studio in my house and I'm whacking the mic and everything else. But it's just such a big part of who he is.
Right.
Because it really, I have to tell you, it's tremendous. You know. Even when he was on when he was at the CIA and I'm watching one of the news channels, the one I don't like it. And they say Donald Trump doesn't draw. I'm like, he's so physical, and it's a very dynamic impersonation. Well, he's very dynamic in that 2 years ago he wasn't this physical, and he constricts his voice and he loosens his voice and he's going up and he's going down and things he had never done early on because it used to be, Glenn, your team did a terrible job. You're fired. That was it. It would set up, you know what I mean? He'd fire you or set up, guys, you're selling lemonade. That was, that was the most you saw of him. And it seemed the more he was on the campaign trail, especially with these stump speeches, he just became looser and looser.
At what point did you think to yourself, I've got a frickin' gold mine?
I just knew, people were calling me as soon as he announced. Friends, and because I've been doing them so long, and said, dude, you're set, man, it's going to be incredible. And I said, hold on, let's see if he doesn't implode first, because 4 years before he had run, we was touring with running, and I remember at the very end of before he literally the day before he dropped out, he was speaking in front of the. I live in Las Vegas. He was speaking to the Las Vegas Republicans women's group, and he dropped the F-bomb 3 times. And I remember thinking, he's dropping out. He dropped out the next day because he kind of lays the groundwork before he does something. And he dropped the 3 F-bombs, and everyone was shocked, and he was out the next day. When he announced this last time in June 2015, I thought, okay, well, let's see what happens if the work starts coming in. And we were about a month in, and he made the John McCain comments, and I thought, well, that was a good run. That was full month. Yeah, I guess I'll go back to Austin Powers. It was really, and then his numbers went up, and his number kept going up, and I thought, you know what? If he can make it to the first debate, I'm set for the fall. And then he did that first debate, and he crushed it. And the phone started ringing off the hook. And by that time, I was on Red Eye on Fox, and I'd already been on Conan, and other calls were happening, and the corporate work was coming in, and voiceovers were happening. It already started. And then by August of this past year, 2016, I was being interviewed by not the BBC, by Channel 4. They'd flown me to D.C. to do some interviews. And most of the interviews I did last year, I did a ton of them, they always said, who are you voting for? Which I always thought was a dumb question. Who cares who I'm voting for? They said, who do you think will win? And I said, Trump will win in a landslide. I've been on the road for well over a year now. I've done hundreds of events. Doesn't matter what corporate group I do or where I do it, it's always overwhelmingly for Trump. And
what is it that the media missed?
They missed the fact.
Say it like Trump.
They missed the fact that people are upset. They want a leader. They want someone with bravado. They want someone who has real accomplishments and someone who's going to say whatever he wants to say. And that was the thing that they missed, that he.
Do you believe he is that caricature? Because people always say when they meet with him, he's a totally different guy. So which is he? What is he?
Well, that's a great question. And I say to people, I think you'll see he's different in different situations. Even when he's doing interviews. If he's being interviewed by Sean Hannity, he's one way. If it's Bill O'Reilly, it's another way. If it's Scott Pelley, it's another way. He assumes different styles each time.
Right. But they're still all him.
They're still all him, yeah. But I think when he's out and about, if you've seen plenty of those types of things, he's a certain way. This is tremendous. Look at this place. This is amazing. This is an amazing event. I have to tell you, it's incredible. Best of the best. So I think what was missed was the fact that the enthusiasm part was so important. They didn't get the fact that people were really enthusiastic about him, and they were incredibly unenthusiastic about Hillary. And I remember this clearly. I was in New York, which was pretty much Hillary country. I was doing an event, about 500 people, and I do this bit in the act where I come out and basically I say, I've been told there's over 5,000 people here today. There's usually a much smaller crowd. But the press, terrible people, the press. They're going to say there's 400 and we're in a banquet hall. Terrible. And I say, listen. We're all friends here, right? We're all friends, right? I just want to do a quick poll. Who here wants to ruin the country and vote for crooked Hillary Clinton? And the Clinton would be, these are the people voting for her. It was so enthusiastic. And then I would say, and this was less than a quarter of the group. And I would say, all right, who's going to vote for me and make the country great again? Overwhelmingly for him. And it was
these were Clinton people.
These were you would think in New York.
Country.
You would think in New York, yeah. And I remember early on I was at a hotel in San Diego of all places. And I'm constantly on the road. Constantly. In hotels, in airports. I mean, in character, I'm in hotels. And I would walk out of my room one time, and the cleaning lady said, Mr. Trump, can I get a photo with you, Mr. Trump? And I said, sure, of course. What's your name? My name is Esmeralda, Mr. Trump. And I said, "Are you going to vote for me?" He goes, "Yes, I'm going to vote for you, Mr. Trump. I love you." And I said, "You love me?" And she says, "Yes, I love you, Mr. Trump. I want you to build the wall." That happened like 5 times.
Yeah, but
Wow.
I had a Muslim driver in New York, and I was out of character. They picked me up at the airport, and the guy
But
said,
you're dressed like this.
"Well, no, I was in street clothes."
Okay, yeah.
I was in street clothes, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a comedian." And he said, "What kind of comedy?" And I said, "Oh, I'm an impersonator." And he's like, "Who do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, Dr. Phil, and Dr. Evil, and Donald Trump, and Austin." "Oh, no, you do Mr. Trump, you do Mr. Trump." And I said, "Yeah, I do Donald Trump." And I mentioned the different stuff. He goes, "I love Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump." I said, "Really?" I said, "Why?" And he goes, "He is going to draw a line between me and the terrorists. I love America. I love America." And he's going to draw a line. I was
great.
thinking like, wow, I'd never. And I took all these things, and I was like, all these things were happening. I'm thinking, this guy's going to win. It doesn't seem every quarter.
What is the one thing? You know what? I got to take a quick break. We'll come right back.
Sure.
Our sponsor this half hour is My Patriot Supply. America's enemies have weaponized the internet against us. Russia, far away the leading aggressor. How do you feel about Russia?
Fantastic people. Fantastic people. And Putin says very nice things about me. He called me a genius.
But he kills people. We've always hated him.
Like we haven't killed people. Come on, Glenn. Be serious.
Russia has now hacked 500 million email accounts.
We're not even close to that. I think we should be hacking more, don't you?
Could this be a test for something bigger, like taking down our vulnerable and aging energy grid? How about North Korea? There's lots of things that are catastrophic that could happen, but also things like just times can be tough. I'd like to be prepared for anything that happens. My Patriot Supply will help. Right now, they're giving away 1 week food supply for $19.95. 1 week food supply for $19.95. Units with a $19.95 price are limited, so order right now. The price of 1 week of food that lasts up to 25 years, $19.95. Everybody in your family needs one of these. Act now. Be prepared from hackers to hurricanes. 800-856-2325. Or order online at preparewithglenn.com. That's preparewithglenn.com. 800-856-2325. Preparewithglenn.com. Just going through your tweets now? Is that what you're doing?
We're trying to find some classic tweets.
We're with Johnny DiDomenico, and his web address is johnnyd.net.
I just messed this up.
I'm looking through your
I'll do it on mine.
your site because you do prosthetics on your face.
Only on Leno.
Only on Leno.
Only on Leno. Everything else is just my big fat face.
Wow, because you look like Dr. Evil. Leno with the huge chin.
I don't get the thing.
I will tell you this. I mean, one of the impersonations you do is Benjamin Franklin. That doesn't seem so hard.
Nobody really knows, do they?
Really? Wow,
Somebody
you
said to
nailed
me
him.
once, how do you know what Benjamin Franklin sounds like? A lot of research. There are some old kinescopes of him talking. It's
Larry King.
Larry King live, coming to you live from Florida, where everyone passed away.
You do, let's see, Billy Mays. That's a favorite.
Yeah. Hi, Billy Mays.
Billy was great.
He was fantastic.
So what is the one thing about Trump, because you are in his head, what is the one thing about Trump that the average person misses that maybe you're surprised that not everybody sees?
I think the fact that there's absolutely no nuance. It's black or white. There's no middle ground on something. It's either absolutely tremendous or it's a total disaster.
That's really
Have you
true.
ever heard him
nothing's
do
just
middle ground
okay.
ever?
True.
Ever, never. He would
Yeah,
have
he
to
never
be-
says anything is sort of okay,
right,
does he?
right. You know, it's like, well, all right, maybe you've never seen that.
No.
You've never seen that. It's just a complete, And the thing is, like the word disaster, it could be a nuclear holocaust or a paper cut. This is a disaster. I can't do anything. I can't point. I have a paper cut. It's like just levels everything.
Does it amaze you how he can turn on things at the drop of a hat as well?
Yes.
That you are absolutely the best, and the moment you say something he disagrees with,
It's over.
It's over. You are the worst. It's incredible.
One of the things I think is really interesting about him is if he doesn't, the biggest insult he can give you is, I never liked you. Like, that's the leveler.
Right.
You know what I mean? You do a terrible job, your work is horrible, and I never liked you. It's like, is that it? Okay. I just think it's such a fascinating.
Because he sees that as a real
sure
devastating, like that's the
Right.
worst possible thing that
Well,
could
I
ever
think that's
happen to you.
because
is that
he
wouldn't
wants
like
to
you.
be liked.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's very interesting. At Mar-a-Lago a couple weeks ago, there was a wedding, and he was with Abe Lincoln, the Prime Minister of Japan.
Where else have we seen you?
I've done three films. I did a 13-part web series. I've done I did a commercial that had 30 million views called The Wall, which was very funny.
Who was it for? I don't remember
it was a camera called 360. It's the first day The Wall opens, and it was a huge commercial, huge budgeted commercial. Huge commercial.
Right.
And as I'm giving the speech saying this tremendous impenetrable wall, the Mexicans are digging under it and they're popping out on the other side. It's very funny. You look it up, The Wall 360, and it's it's on my video channel too.
Is Donald Trump one of the only people that, no matter what he says, it's funny? Not to him, but to everybody else. I just think, the way he says.
Right, it's the way he says stuff.
Right.
It's the way
I
he
could
says
say
things.
China all my life. The way he says China.
It's amazing. And everything, China's killing us. They're killing us. They're absolutely killing us. Great takeout, terrible people. It's just everything he says there's a humorous.
What do you
quality
suppose these meetings are like with Angela Merkel?
I can't. I really. He's not a policy guy, so I can't. Love the German people, tremendous people, great. I've been very clean, because that's the things he loves, like cleanliness.
He doesn't shake hands, right?
He does. Here's the thing with that whole shaking hand thing. When I had met him, that part about shaking hands, but he's selectively OCD. Because if you ever see him around the pageant contestants, he's kissing them and arms around. If you're truly OCD, like someone like Howie Mandel, you don't touch anybody. So it's more like, I'm OCD. Nah, you know what? I don't want to shake your hand. I think that's really what it comes from. Because when he was on the trail, he was constantly shaking hands. I'm thinking either this guy's been through some kind of inversion therapy where he can suddenly not have OCD.
Because I have a friend, we all have a friend who does impersonations, who is OCD, and it's really destroyed his life.
Yeah.
I mean, he was this brilliant kid. And, I saw him just a few years ago in Los Angeles, and it literally took him 15 minutes to cross the street.
Yeah.
He kept going back, and I watched him.
Yeah.
He kept going back and checking his car and getting back in. And I mean, it was horrible. It was just torture for him. So you're not going to, if you're OCD, you're not.
Yeah, if you're a true germaphobe, you're not just going to drop it. So I think it's more of a selective thing, and he prefers it to be this way. So because early on when I was doing him, I used to I'm not going to shake your hand. That was a part of my bit, 10, 12 years ago. Now it's like, how you doing? Good to see you. You know. So it's.
And do you think that plays anything with his peculiarly small hands?
I honestly don't get the small hands thing.
He does have small hands.
He does have small hands.
He does have small. You met him. I've met him.
Yeah.
He's a very large man.
He's huge.
Yeah, he is. He's a very
huge.
large man. And when he walks in to a room, the room does stop. But
Yeah.
his hands are small. They are small.
And the hair is a phenomenon. I mean,
The hair looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's really long, and then he flips it.
Is he covering a bald spot? What do you think that is?
Well, his hair's thinning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's like
Who do
regular
you
thinning
think
hair.
does that? I mean, I think it is amazing that whoever designed this is not known. It's almost like whoever cuts his hair is like, look, I only have one request, Mr. Trump. You never utter my name. Never. It's like a witness protection program.
Right.
Nobody knows who cuts his hair.
Right.
That guy should be famous.
Right, he should be famous.
It's like the
He's gotta
Brooklyn
be-
Bridge.
he's
There's
gotta
some
go-
engineering there.
Yeah. No, there's somebody put a chart on on the internet where because he does this thing. We can't even mimic it because I talk to my wig person all the time. Like, we need to do this thing where the hair comes down halfway and then it goes back. And she was like, I can't do that. We can't like get the hair to go down like for an inch and then flip back. So we get it as close as humanly possible because his hair is literally defying gravity because the way it's built, every day. And I have photos of him where he's obviously just at Tavern on the Green because I have photos from all different years because I like to look at see his hairstyle change, which not by much, only the hair's getting thinner.
I just want you to know how weird and creepy that sentence just sounded. I've got pictures of him all over my walls. In the dressing room here,
there's all these different photos of him because I have to go with the little nasolabial folds here and these things and the thing under the eyes. And he used to get tan a lot, so he had the white around the eyes.
It doesn't happen anymore.
Because he doesn't have the time. It's kind of hard to sneak off to the tanning bed, or the spray tan or whatever it is. But his hair is, everything about him is a brand. His hair is his brand. The way he speaks is his brand. His style is his brand.
Did you see that they just had him cut new suits? Did you see that?
Oh, for the
White House.
The joint?
Somebody in the administration had all new suits made for him, new ties. They've restyled him. It was a big deal at the
joint houses of Congress.
At the speech.
You can tell with the ties.
His ties are too damn long. Stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always, they're almost to his crotch.
Right. And they use his tape to tape them together. Have you seen that photo where it's blowing and you see like the Scotch tape?
Classic.
Which is really interesting. Like, here's a guy who's so precise on so many things, and then
who is it we know got cufflinks from him? Remember that story?
Oh,
Charlie Sheen?
No.
He told the story
because we have. Maybe it was Charlie Sheen. Yeah, that's what it was.
But it was someone else we knew that
somebody else told us
the
story.
same thing, and we had. Because Penn Jillette's a friend of mine.
Oh, yeah.
Penn was on Celebrity Apprentice. Penn called me and asked me for, I don't remember what it was, like a $20,000 donation to his charity. Said, fine, made it. Trump, when he released his charitable givings, included my $20,000 in his charitable givings. I couldn't believe it. Penn called me up and he's like, that's your money, dude. But
it's going to good use.
Right. But the other is the cufflink story. Somebody else told us that story too, that they're fake, and he presents them as real.
He was having dinner with Charlie Sheen, and Charlie Sheen said, hey, I love those cufflinks. Those are beautiful. Right. He's like, you want them? And he gave them to him. And he said, those are Tiffany's, right?
Yeah, something like that.
$3,000 a piece or something outrageous. And then he had them appraised a while later, and they were costume jewelry.
Which you would think, why would you?
He just does that.
Why would you do that?
Kind of goes back to what we were talking about on the break.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very bizarre. Very
really
bizarre.
Weird.
Hey, I know you've got other things to do here. Could we just get you to go through his tweets? Because this goes
absolutely.
Back. Give him his tweets.
Do you have like the classic tweets?
Oh, yeah.
What are the? Is there?
Oh, there's so many classic. I've never seen a skinny person. I've never seen a fat person. I've never seen a fat person drinking Diet Coke.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is his Twitter line.
Wait, is there a place you could just go online to famous?
Yeah, there's famous. There's a whole bunch of his famous Twitter feeds.
I will say that you do not want to have your fingerprints on Jeffy's computer. That is not a good idea.
Just don't pay attention to the tabs. Don't pay attention to the tabs.
Okay, this is today, 22 hours ago. Congratulations, Eric and Laura. Very proud and happy for the two of you.
He is getting more boring, and I think that's good for the country.
Good for the country.
Not necessarily good for
I'm just
for
fascinated. I would love to be a fly on the wall seeing him with another world leader. I mean, what does he say to Benjamin Netanyahu?
Because his public...
I love the Israeli people. Love Israel. Tremendous people. I know so many Jewish people. Did I tell you my daughter's Jewish? He's Jewish. Right. Eric married a Jew. We're very close to people.
Right.
Very close to people.
But beyond that,
I think that's it.
I think that's it. I mean, the meetings, and then you just sit there like he did with Angela Merkel, where it's just uncomfortable not looking at each other.
Send a good photo back to Germany.
That was it.
Yeah. What about all the contact with the Clinton campaign and the Russians? Also, it is true that the DNC would not let the FBI look in. I just heard that fake news CNN is doing polls again, despite the fact that their election polls were way off. Disaster. Much higher ratings at Fox.
By the way, CNN, I think, is having its record-breaking ratings now, aren't they?
Oh, and everything that's
well.
New York Times
Failing.
horrible. It's up.
Yeah. Glenn Beck is failing.
Yeah.
That was the amazing thing is he courted me for a while. I didn't realize I was being courted. And then that stopped the minute he announced because we thought it was a joke.
Right.
You know, we were like, okay, well, this is a joke. And of course, we're not for him. And immediately the courting stopped. And I'm the biggest loser and I'm failing and I'm going broke. And I mean, it's remarkable how he just zeroes in on that.
I thought it was interesting when Macy's stopped selling his suits. He'd said, Macy's, they're falling apart. Stores are closing, and people are chopping up their Macy's cards. Tens of thousands of people are doing this. I just thought that was...
Does he believe it, or does he know that he can create that image in people's minds?
I think that is the ultimate question.
Whether or not he believes it.
Yeah, I think from a standpoint of me as an actor, I think he believes it.
We've gone back and forth. We think that as he's saying it, he absolutely believes it.
Right. Yes, in the moment.
In the moment. Right. But he may not actually believe that, but saying it, he does.
Right.
It's a bizarre guy.
Yeah.
Bizarre guy.
Fascinating.
You've got a glorious 8 years.
I've had a huge run coming. I have to say.
Because
people. The thing was, people had said, "Well, what's going to happen if he loses?" And I would say, "He's not going anywhere." Right. You'll probably hear more from him if he loses than if he wins. And I was in the process of building a White House press room in my house because I do so much stuff from my home because I have an audio studio there, and he hasn't been in the press room.
Nope.
And he's probably never going to be in the press room. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I should do the East room.
I'll sell you the
Yes,
oval
this
here.
is tremendous. This is tremendous. I love this.
It used to look just like it, and we can sell you the old carpet and everything else. It is so good to have you.
Oh,
John,
thank you
so much.
This has been great.
God bless. Thank you. Now selling your home on time and for the most money is possible with the right real estate agent. But how do you find that? realestateagentsitrust.com. Going to help you find the right real estate agent, a great one, huge, in your own town. You'll be able to trust the real estate agent that you have, which is something that isn't always the case. At least when I was selling my home up in Connecticut, had a hard time because the real estate agent was doing the same thing and saying, we're going to have another open house or we're going to blow up some balloons. I just want my house sold. You want to be able to have somebody that you can trust that will sell your house on time and for the most money. Our agents are fully vetted and handpicked by my team for their knowledge, their skill, and their track record. It's realestateagentsitrust.com. The test results have been remarkable before we opened this up to the general public about a year ago. And the results from the people that are using our 1,000 agents all around the country, truly remarkable. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com. You want your house sold on time and for the most money? realestateagentsitrust.com.
Really out of your control.
It
because,
is.
We have someone who does some impressions here.
Yeah,
on this program.
we have Al Gore.
Sadly, though, most of the people Pat does are either retired or dead.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. Al Gore.
Not all of them.
He's dead. He's retired.
Yeah, he's
not
retired.
dead.
Al Gore,
Yoda,
very
Yoda's
much
still
alive and driving around in SUV right now.
Spoiler alert: Yoda is dead. By the way.
Whoa.
I know. I don't wanna, in case you're just starting out at the beginning of that series.
No, he's going on. He goes on.
No, that's true. Then you've got Michael Jackson.
Dead.
We've lost Michael.
Yeah.
You used to do a great, what's his name, the old the Arlen Specter.
Yeah, Arlen, we lost him.
Dead.
I didn't leave this life. This life left me.
Jimmy Stewart.
So good. Yeah, Jimmy Stewart.
Dead.
Why didn't we bring this up?
I know.
I don't know. Well, because you got a professional here. You don't want to.
You get paid for it.
It's true.
That is the definition of a professional. You get paid to do
That's
it.
kind of true, isn't it? When you think about that.
So
That is a great Trump, though. Wow. Is that
When
good?
you
That's
look
very
at
good.
him,
That is
if you're
great.
just listening to us, you got to go back and watch it on the Blazer at glennbeck.com because watching him.
Killer.
Yeah. Lawrence was in the makeup chair a few minutes ago, and he's like, Donald Trump is here, looking up at the screen. And Lawrence, no, there might be a car or two outside. And
Maybe a few
and
people in suits.
maybe not knowing how the Secret Service is
Yeah,
around
no
the White
kidding.
House
Yeah.
now, but there might have been a little harder to get into the building if Donald Trump were here, and probably we would have told everybody.
But he has some amazing stories that would be fun to share if we could, but we can't.
What?
Amazing insight.
Stu, would you please look what he just did?
What'd I do?
That's something.
I said he had amazing stories.
That's something you look at me and go, why would you
do that?
Why would you do that?
I mean, he didn't.
That's a good
I
point.
didn't divulge anything.
didn't divulge
no,
it.
it
That's
isn't.
the
I didn't
difference.
divulge anything. You would have divulged it by now.
Well, now I
he just
have
told
to.
us an amazing story of blah 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 blah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say this because he told me specifically not to, but let me tell you the story that is
Oh,
your.
man. This is the greatest thing, though, because if they ever capture me and they think I have secrets or something, I mean, I'll tell you in the van on the way to the interrogation. I mean,
You guys are ISIS? Oh, I heard this great story about these planes that are coming tomorrow at 4 p.m.
right? It's unbelievable.
That is you.
Yeah, it is me. So I'll never make it to the torture chamber.
They don't need to torture.
They don't need to
you.
torture me. I'll
They
just tell
don't
them.
need to.
Do you think society at large has finally learned this point with you? That they can't email? Because I know it personally. Work emails. Never send a work email to Glenn Beck with a detail you don't want the whole company to know. Because if there's another detail in there that he wants, he'll forward the whole chain going back 2 years of your conversations, and everybody gets them and gets to read them.
Wow, I didn't know that. This sounds.
Wow, this sounds awful.
This sounds specific.
Yeah, in
like
fact-
there's something that has happened to you.
Not with me, but I've read a lot of interesting chains, I will say, over the years.
yeah, that's actually true.